We are live.
Great. I'm just going to open our community group. Let's see.
Hey, everybody. Make sure to say hello as you're joining.
Hi, everyone. Coach Kate, joined by Coach Jennifer C. tonight.
We have some folks joining.
I'm just looking for our video, which hopefully is, you see it, Jen?
I do.
Oh, great. So tonight we are talking about fall recipes. I don't know about you, Jen, but fall is a season that I absolutely love.
It's my favorite, my absolute favorite.
The weather's getting cooler, bonfires, fall flavors, of course, which is going to be a big feature of tonight. And we are going to be demonstrating some of our favorites, and we expect to hear from you, our HMR community. What are some of the recipes that you love? And my hope, and Jen's hope as well, is that you will hear ideas that you hadn't considered. My hope is that you'll leave here with something new to try that you can really look forward to. And my guess is that you will get very hungry on tonight's session.
Yes. All week as we've been prepping for this, it's just been a great reminder of all the great recipes that we have for fall. And I've had them more than one time this week. So I know you guys are going to want to take them on and enjoy them. So Kate, we have Susan on. We also have Sandy and Jane from San Diego. So keep posting as you guys are hopping on. And just to do a little bit of follow-up from last week, we had our first Q&A, and we had basically like a happy hour with Coach Sandy, which she's on tonight, Nancy, and also Sharon D. And lots of great tips came out of that call. And so if you were on that call last week, make sure to share in the comments anything that you took away. I know there were great travel tips that were talked about, great recipes with syrups. Also, I saw someone mention that they hadn't really thought about putting a soup and an entree together. And that was a new idea that they took away from the Q&A last week. And so do make sure if you were on or if you took something on last week, the comments below, because we love to hear how things are going for you guys and if things were helpful, especially as we do these live events each week. So as many of you probably remember, seems like many moons ago, but last week was our shake contest. And we were really excited to have so many of you really participate and share your favorite shake recipes, ingredients, 70 plus, how you do them as a pudding, and very creative. And so we do have a winner of our shake contest. And I know she is newer to our community, Miss Paula Antonelli. I'm so sorry if I completely butchered your last name. And you all may recall, she had the Fresh Meyer Lemon Shake, which looked absolutely delicious. And she got 64 votes, and so that's why she's our winner. And so it is going to be featured on our social media platforms. And of course, we will post the recipe if you just happen to miss it in the comments below after this live event. So congratulations, Paula Antonelli. And so if you're on, congratulations. So
yeah. In the recipe that it is her fresh lemon shake that tastes like lemon cream. And the picture was beautiful. Of course, it sounds delicious. And she also said you can garnish it with zest, fresh strawberries, cucumbers, raspberries. Looks amazing. I can't wait to try it.
Yes, it does. And she may be a photographer because that photo was just gorgeous of the shake with the strawberry on it. And so we have many folks joining still, so make sure you guys continue to say hello as you're hopping on. We have Christina, we have Nancy from California, Donna, a fellow Kentuckian. I'm also in Kentucky.
Nice.
Nancy, and Diane. So she says, happy fall from Wisconsin. So I'm sure you're feeling the fall weather in Wisconsin, Diane. So
I see Jeanette, I see Jennifer, who joins us each week, Shane,
Yep.
Susan, Bob. This is wonderful. So many folks, Patty. I've seen many of these sessions who have chimed in to join us with our fall favorites.
Yes, and I love being in my kitchen and cooking, and especially with all the flavors of fall. I hope you guys are going to enjoy this episode as much as I know you and I have getting it together. So all this week leading up to tonight, we have been asking on the Facebook page in our community some of your favorite recipes for fall. So each day we started out with a different kind of flavor of fall. Pumpkin, and we had some pumpkin recipes that we asked for you guys to share your favorites. We had apple, we had squash, and so we got some pretty interesting pumpkin recipes that we hadn't really seen before. So Hope, Amy, you did a mushroom risotto with your pumpkin, I think half a cup of pumpkin, yams, and mushrooms. And so that sounds like such a beautiful creation and very filling there. And we had so many different pumpkin shake recipes. So some with coffee, some not including coffee, so sugar-free syrups.
Yep.
And so we are going to be going through some of the recipes tonight, but many of them were not things that we included. So even more fall recipes that you guys can take advantage of. And we also had Miss Debbie share her pumpkin in the box pumpkin pie. So I know you guys had your ears perk up on that one when you heard an in the box pumpkin pie. And I know Philip really enjoyed the squash, the whole grain medley, which is actually one that we're doing tonight. So keep those coming as we go through the different categories tonight of some of your favorites with these seasonal flavors. And so today we are breaking up their recipes into 4 different categories because there's just so many of them. We wanted to try to keep them organized. So we have number 1, our seasonal favorites, 2, soups, 3, hot shakes, and then 4, our cold weather comfort foods. And I think it's hard to nail down a favorite category, right? I think we talked about this too. We just love them all.
Yep.
Yeah.
We'll go on for hours all night.
Yep.
And just to take it from the top, the first category that we wanted to have a chance to review with you is seasonal favorites. And many things so wonderful this time of year. But a couple of things that stood out to me and Coach Jennifer are all things pumpkin, recipes that include apples, and then squash. Squash is so delicious this time of year. And even if you're on the decision-free diet, we will be sharing many recipes for you. Or of course, you can listen for recipes that you can look forward to when you do add in fruits and vegetables. And we will be posting all of the recipes for you folks to enjoy. And again, listen for something that you can add to your plans, and please post your favorites. So this is one that's actually on our site, and that is a pumpkin turkey chili. And I'm going to walk you through the steps. I had a chance to prepare it. And this recipe would also be delicious with the HMR risotto. It would be delicious with the ravioli. And it would also be wonderful with the lentils. So it would be great with some of our vegetarian entrees too. And like anything else, we have a chance to always think about what changes would I make to make it to my preference. So of course you can switch up the veggies, you can switch up the spices. But just per this recipe, I wanted to have a chance to walk through the specifics, and it is on our site and we'll post it. So we start with half a cup of onion, and then I added to it bell pepper. And after that, I included the turkey chili as our recipe calls for the HMR turkey chili. And then I added to it some canned tomatoes. super easy recipe to make. It literally took minutes to put together. I added some canned black beans, and then I added some spices. And of course, depending on your preference, the recipe calls for some chili powder and cumin. And then I put it on a pan, and you guys can take a look and see it. It makes a massive, massive plate of food and is so delicious. And I feel like the pumpkin flavor with the veggies and the turkey chili just makes a delicious combination. So I would highly recommend it. And just in the category of our seasonal favorites, wanted to suggest pumpkin with the entrees, as I know that Hope Amy had shared her pumpkin risotto with yams, but I feel like pumpkin is a little bit more natural to go with the shakes or maybe the cereal, some of our baked goods, but we might be less inclined to mix it with the entrees, and it is delicious.
Yes, and it's so much food. It looks absolutely delicious. And as you were going through, Kate, I was just thinking of our folks who are not doing fruits and vegetables, and was thinking that they could absolutely use a lot of the spices and things to get a different flavor and more of the fall pumpkin. So the pumpkin pie spice absolutely could go in to the turkey chili with maybe onion powder or onion flakes. And so really, you guys, if you're hearing recipes that include fruits and vegetables, really think how can you create it to be in the box for you? And maybe it's just the spices that you add in to get a different flavor so that you can keep up your diet endurance with that variety, because that's very, very important.
Absolutely.
And so Carol, Kate is wondering how much pumpkin did you say for that recipe?
This recipe calls for just 1/4 of a cup, so not a lot. I tend to add extra of all of the veggies and fruits in my recipes, just to make sure that that's what it calls for. Yep.
Yeah, so you can kind of start following the recipe, and then of course you can add more because more is better. Pumpkin has so much good fiber in it. And we have Sandy saying yum, and also Dana has joined us, and Bob, you are right there. I'm right there with you. His favorite flavor is the apple cider, so we're going to be getting into that. That's actually what I'm drinking right now, is a hot apple cider shake. And so we're going to go through that. And anything else to say about your pumpkin turkey chili? I know you talked about some other entrees that you could put with it. Anything else?
Yeah, I think just thinking about pumpkin as an option for a lot of the different entrees, and then of course the veggies, the opportunities are endless. You know, you start with your entree, pumpkin, and then think about, like you were saying, the different spices, veggies, and so many different recipes you could make.
Right. And I know on the post that we posted, I believe it was Monday, we saw many different recipes with the shakes that included either pumpkin puree or even pumpkin pie spice. And so make sure you all go back to that post so that you can see all the different variety there. Also continue to post some of your other favorite pumpkin things to do in the comments. And I know Susan was talking about the recipes, and so we are going to post them in the comments, the ones that we go through, and we will make sure to have them in the comments. And we're also going to be putting a tab either at the top, or it's on the top left of your page as you're looking at the Facebook community, of fall recipes, so that you guys can go to that tab, easy and convenient to find some different things.
Great.
All right.
And you're going to share a couple of seasonal favorites. One that just jumped out to me that I do a lot, I didn't make tonight, is spaghetti squash. I literally have made spaghetti squash with each of the 16 entrees. I feel like I do it all the time. And I've also done it as a sweet side with some cinnamon, Splenda, and just a little bit of the butter spray. So spaghetti squash is another one that just jumped out to me that I do all the time, and just wanted to recommend to folks tonight.
Yeah, so we are going to talk about some other squashes, but you think we're ready to move on to our next recipe?
Perfect.
All right, so make sure you guys to keep commenting below as you hop on, and also share your recipes? And that's a good question, Sandra. And I actually heard it on the radio today. It was a contest of what pumpkin is actually considered, either a fruit or a vegetable.
I think it's a fruit.
A fruit? I was going to say it's a vegetable. But we may have to talk to Nancy about that one.
Yes, Nancy.
So to fight our pumpkin battle about which it is, either a fruit or a vegetable for that. So we will get back to you guys. But moving on to our next recipe, and this one can actually be found in our HMR recipe book. So let me put it up here for you guys. And you all received this in your initial materials when you ordered your kit. So it is the the autumn apple crisp. So I'm going to have some folks kind of hopping in. And so the autumn apple crisp is a super easy recipe. So what you're going to do is you will cut up one apple or two, however many you want to do for this. The recipe actually says to peel and core, which I like the peel, and so I just keep the peel on, and of course I core it. And so you have your cut up apples, and then in a separate bowl you're going to put a bag of the cereal, so the multigrain hot cereal, but you're going to do it dry. So you're going to put dry mix. You're also going to put your apple pie spice in here. And then I use stevia in the raw, and I get little packets. And so I just put one little packet of stevia in the raw. And then of course, stir it all together. And then you will have your topping for your apple crisp. And one thing that Kate and I wanted to do for tonight, our episode, is really talk about how many calories we could get into if we were having some of these very same foods out in our culture. So let me get my apple crisp out of the oven. And you guys, this one is so good. It makes your kitchen smell so good. And I know we also have, it's tricky to get out of here.
Jen made a delicious post on our Facebook page with a similar recipe to yours, and then a vanilla 70 plus on top. If you saw that, it looks so good.
So good. Yeah, so you could put the vanilla 70 plus on top. You could even make the vanilla mousse and have it like a la mode, have your own ice cream. So there's our HMR apple crisp. Can you all see that? And it just, I wish y'all could smell it. It smells so good. Now, super easy. You just bake it in the oven, 350 for about 15 minutes. And so again, this recipe is in the initial cookbook that you got with your kit. Now, so we can play a guessing game, but I won't make you guys hang on too long. But I'm sure we're all familiar of the Cheesecake Factory. And they actually have a dish on their menu called warm apple crisp. So basically the same thing that we just made. And before I tell you guys how many calories are in one of their warm apple crisp, and keep in mind, you're probably not only having this apple crisp, you probably had a meal, and this is going to be your dessert. And so take a guess, a gander at how many calories are in the Cheesecake Factory's warm apple crisp. And don't Google, don't cheat. And so then while you guys are putting down your guesses, this is still really warm. But our apple crisp, so this is probably this is a 2-cup serving bowl, and 290 calories for this, 290. Now, do we have any guesses coming in for?
I don't see a guess yet.
Well, I will let the cat out of the bag for you guys. You all may, if you're not sitting down, want to sit down. Oh, Lori says 400. Lori, you may need to sit down because I'm going to blow your socks off. The warm apple crisp from the Cheesecake Factory is 1,305 calories.
Wow.
In a serving. Let me just repeat that. 1,305 calories. Now, here is a picture of the Cheesecake Factory's warm apple crisp. Looks pretty similar to the one that I made.
And Jen, we need to remind ourselves that no one goes into the Cheesecake Factory for just a dessert. That is something that people are adding on to the meal, to the drinks, to the side. I mean, that could easily be a 4,000 plus calorie episode, but it's also that just that dessert alone is more calories than like a whole day on the Healthy Solutions diet.
Yes. Yeah. Yep. Just in one serving of that warm apple crisp is more calories than a whole day doing the Healthy Solutions diet. So your 3 shakes, 2 entrees, and 5 servings of fruits and vegetables. And I know Lori mentioned the 400, and she's saying, eek. I know, I hope you were sitting down, because it blew my mind too when I saw that. And so I think I saw a question about the cookbook. And so Judy, if you got a Healthy Solutions kit, then that would have been in your materials. And typically in the clinic setting, that also comes in your first group, typically. So if you're in the at-home program and you did not get a recipe book, let us know, give us a call, and we can add it onto your next order so that you can make sure to get it. Because this recipe, I don't think is on our website, the Autumn Apple Crisp. And so make sure you guys are commenting and sharing some of your favorite things to do with apples, because you can do a lot. I think somebody I saw made their own like applesauce out of their apples.
Someone mentioned today apples and doing 70 plus pudding as a dip, warm 70 plus with cinnamon, nutmeg, and is great with vanilla, delicious. Apples. Someone else mentioned adding apples to a smoothie with spinach and bananas and pineapple. So lots of great shake options there too.
Yes. And Shane was talking about sliced apples simmered in a little water with cinnamon to taste, and almost like your kind of fried apples, but way less calories because you're not using the oil. And you can add it to your oatmeal, or even in phase 2. That sounds great. Egg white omelet. So if you're in phase 2, you could add the warmed apples into that.
Nancy had posted a recipe with acorn squash and mushroom risotto. She adds carrots, parsnips, and asparagus, and she bakes the squash and roasts all the veggies. That sounds amazing.
It does. I do sometimes wish we could just have a big potluck where we could all bring our favorite HMR fruits and vegetables and healthy recipes. Maybe one of these days we'll have a field trip or something.
Would be so great.
I'm still on. So we were moving on to squashes, and I know Philip really likes this recipe, and this is another one that is also in the HMR recipe book that again came in your initial materials, and it's the very last recipe of the book, and it is the whole grain medley with squash. Super easy, and I think you guys would be so surprised at how delicious this recipe is. And so you do use an acorn squash, and so this is an acorn squash. I do like to typically get them with a little yellowish orange on them, but this one's just starting to get a little yellow. And then you have the whole grain medley. Now, with so many of these recipes, you can substitute many of the entrees. I think savory chicken could be good with this one. Lentil stew, lots of good things coming on with in the acorn squash. So what you're going to do first, and the acorn squash, of course, takes a little bit more time. Your squashes are going to take more time to prepare, and you can do it in the microwave, or if you like to do it in the oven, then what you'll want to do is cut the acorn squash in half, and then make sure to scoop out the seeds. Then put it face down on a baking sheet, but make sure your baking sheet is sprayed with the butter cooking spray. And then you put it in the oven on 400 for about 40 minutes. And then when you take it out, you'll just heat the whole grain medley up just like you normally do in the microwave. And then you have this, it's really quite beautiful. So let me grab that. And that's it, you guys, an acorn squash and a whole grain medley entree. And this is, I think, something that would be great to serve at any kind of get together. My apologies, my acorn squash has been warming. Get a, so you could also, I know you mentioned spaghetti squash as a squash that you like to do, Kate. There's butternut squash, and keep in mind how many things around the holiday times do we have that include squashes. So like there's a butternut pie, squash pie. So instead of making the pie, using a lot of the flavors in your shake or with the cereal so that you can get a lot of the same flavors, but not all the calories, because that's, again, we're working to stay on the diet if we're in phase 1, or cut out calories, but still enjoy the flavors that we like. So let me pull this up for you guys. It's still quite hot because I thought the oven, so I hope I don't throw it at you guys, but look how beautiful that is.
I've done that.
That's the acorn squash cut in half with just the whole grain medley. So if you all have tried this recipe, make sure to comment, or if you've done something else with the acorn squash or a squash, let us know. Anyone else joining us, Kate?
Sandra has joined us. We have Audrey has joined us. Donna is with us. And we have a lot of folks who have just posted some additional suggestions. Caramel flavoring to apples, which is so good. A couple other folks suggesting squash, apples. In the omelet, I know that was a little bit different. That was a suggestion. And you had already shared Shane's apple suggestion. So hopefully folks are taking note with your baked squash. Delicious with the whole grain medley, but certainly nice with lots of different entrees.
Yes, yes. And I'm glad I'm seeing some folks saying that they would not have thought of that. And so I'm just thinking of maybe the acorn squash or any other recipes that we've talked about. So make sure you guys are writing these down, putting them on your grocery list so that you can remember that you want to sample them, because they are really, really good and super, super easy. All right. So continue to share. Like if you're just joining us, this is Coach Jennifer. I don't know if you all see my son sliding across the floor. But this is Coach Jennifer and Coach Kate, and we're going through some fall recipes for you guys. And I guess I'm still on. Or Kate, do you want to talk about your cauliflower soup?
Sandy had mentioned that the stuffed squash is delicious with lentils and also with the veggie stew with beef. So a variation of the recipe that you made.
See, so many would be so good in the acorn squash. And I know squashes can be intimidating to cook. And in the microwave, it does go a little bit faster, but you will want to make sure to pierce them a lot so they don't explode in the microwave. I know from experience with spaghetti squash that if you don't pierce it, you will end up with spaghetti squash all over your microwave. So make sure to pierce it, and maybe even put it in a little bit of dish of water for that if you're doing it in the microwave.
Quick shout out to my client, Kate, who I will ask in group next week what you heard this evening. So wonderful to see you on as we were together very early this morning.
Yeah, that's one thing that HMR coaches are really good at. We love to follow up and check in if you all say you're going to do something. And so we just are wrapping up our seasonal kind of favorite category, and we're going to move on to our soups, which this time of year with it getting chilly, and that's just a nice, it's just really comfy to have a big bowl of soup. And I know we have a couple of recipes that we're going to go through. Kate, do you want to do your cauliflower soup first, or do you want me to go ahead and do the chicken noodle?
Yeah, I'm happy to. So I make a cauliflower soup that is so easy. And again, we will post our recipes, but I'll walk you through it. So it's a head of cauliflower, 1 onion, and then I cut them up, put it in a pan, and I add 4 cups of water. And like all of our recipes, you can add different spices, salt, pepper. I have this spice that I happen to add to it, which is a cheese. I have a couple of the different spices. I put everything in it too. And then I warmed it and simmered it for 15 minutes. And then after that, I took it off my pan and just blended it. And it's like a delicious cauliflower puree. And the amazing thing about this is it's 8 cups of food for 160 calories. We're looking at 20 calories a cup. And I'll do it as a side. I've also added different HMR entrees to it. I've added the savory chicken. I've added the whole grain medley. I've added the lentils. I've added the routine chicken. I've added lots of it. So just to have a delicious soup. And another thing I love about it, like some of the recipes that I make, not only is it really easy to make, but it makes a big batch that I then can enjoy numerous times in my day or week. And so whenever I want a warm bowl of soup, I don't necessarily have to make it from scratch. I don't drink it from the blender, but I could. But just so quick and easy, lots of veggies, and a wonderful addition. And thinking about the calorie comparisons, Jen, which of course we'll give more, our options are nutritious, filling, and this is a perfect example of something that is so high in volume. When you're looking for tons of volume for so few calories, it's a great choice. In contrast, certainly many other foods that we could find out in our culture, they're not even that filling, and yet they're loaded with calories.
Mm-hmm. Right. And a lot of times, there's so many things, even if you're on the decision free, I have often suggested to many of my clients to go ahead and put some of the entrees in a blender to make more like a bisque, a cream. Many of the Italian tomato-based entrees make a really great tomato bisque. And so that may be something that you guys have not considered doing. I know Nancy's talking about how it's still 94 degrees in California. And so soups are an easy thing that they don't have to turn on the oven. But also something that's another way of thinking about soups and getting in some vegetable servings, or just, again, to help with that variety, is gazpacho. So doing something that's cold. So making a soup and making it cold could absolutely be another thing that you guys could do to help support you along the way. And I know, yeah, go ahead.
One is just adding a low sodium broth to my entrees so I can really increase the volume. And many of the boxes in the supermarket are even flavor infused. And you want to look on the back, look at for the ones that are really low in calories. We're talking like 10 calories a cup, or they're cans, or we can make our own with spices. And then you had mentioned gazpacho. I have a delicious watermelon gazpacho recipe that I'm happy to post. And it's so good. And just like this recipe, I'll make just huge amounts and keep in the fridge to enjoy numerous times.
That sounds so delicious. Is that on our website, the watermelon gazpacho? I think it is.
I'm not sure. If it's not,
we'll have to share that one too, because I know that's another great way to have gazpacho, and doing things in the air fryer. Shane's talking about and pureeing those or roasting those. So lots of great recipes. I hope you guys are continuing to comment and say hello as you're coming on. And one thing to keep in mind is that we are going for volume with the soups that are very low in calories. And so that's always a win, because you can be very full for almost nothing. Christina is basically like, wow, 8 cups for 160 calories. That's a lot of food for nothing, really. Not that much of nothing. All right. So anybody else joining us, Kate?
Let's see here. Carla has joined us. Jackie has joined us. So nice to see you folks. Sherry, we have a few different Sherrys on. So the people who have just joined us, Coach Kate, Coach Jennifer C., and we're talking about our fall favorites. And it's also wonderful to see folks posting theirs. Dave has joined us as well.
Great, great. So another kind of in the soup category are those creamy based soups. And the recipe that I want to share now, again, feel like I got all the ones that are in the recipe book. So this is also another one that's going to fall in our HMR recipe book that came in your initial kit. And this is our creamy noodle soup. And I know that Coach Sandy, which I think she's on tonight, this is one of her favorites to do. And again, it's super, super easy to do. So all you need is a packet of the HMR chicken soup. So 500, the HMR 500 chicken soup. And then the rotini chicken Alfredo entree.
Yeah.
And you just make this soup in 6 ounces of water, mix it up, and you can have hot water, and then you can stir in your rotini chicken Alfredo and then put it in the microwave. Today, I know for anyone that knows me, I love my crock pot. I use my crock pot all the time. I have a big one, I have a teeny one. And so what I did is I just put the soup, I made the soup like it calls for in the recipe. So with 6 ounces of water. Put that in here in the crock pot and then just poured my entree in and then just salt and pepper. And you get this really delicious creamy soup. And I love the smells. I know that a lot of times I hear people are so tempted by the smells with other folks cooking in their house or doing other things. And these recipes, they really have your house smelling so, with the apple crisp, very, just delicious. So this is the chicken noodle soup. And that's another one I think that could fall under the comfort food category as well. But we thought it was a good one to put in.
And some of this we can blend so that it's a puree. We can blend a little bit so it's a little bit pureed and a little bit textured. And then that's an example of one, Jen, that's not blended.
I don't think you all can see it. It's very creamy, very delicious. I don't think my plate is too white. But anyway, that's super easy. It's just the rotini chicken and the HMR chicken soup. If you didn't have soup, you could of course use broth as well.
Great.
I know the free chicken is also another great one to put with the soup or broth. And I know that just following along the categories, we talked about how we were going to share some different calories with different foods that we were going, comparing them to HMR and to some things that you can get out in the culture. And so Panera has a cheddar broccoli soup, and they put it in a bread bowl. So bread bowl with the soup, and that is 900 calories for the broccoli cheddar soup in the bread bowl. Wow. And our chicken noodle soup that I just made is just 320 calories. So again, 900 calories compared to 320. And of course, you could absolutely put broccoli into the chicken noodle soup that you just saw me make. And I know Dana is just talking about that, putting broccoli or pureeing broccoli and putting that in a soup. So you could really get a lot of these flavors and cut so many calories out of the way.
Delicious. I feel like we could talk about soups all night. Sandy mentioned that she loves to make the soup with low sodium chicken broth and adding a risotto, making a rice soup. So take note, although we are going to move on to another category. Yep. And wanted to talk a bit about hot shakes. I know that we heard earlier that Nancy, you shared it's still 94 in California. So maybe soups or hot shakes aren't quite on your list, or perhaps you're in the AC and want to do that. But for some of us, I'm in Massachusetts and it's been in the 40s in some mornings. So the reason that hot shakes are really great is lots of different flavors. One of the favorites that I make is a warm pumpkin shake. I typically do it in, not in a plastic cup, but I just wanted you to see it. And this was a shake that I made with a cup of pumpkin. I happen to do 2 cups of water and a vanilla shake because I like my pumpkin shakes very, very, very large. But you can also, of course, make it small. So hot shakes are also a great strategy when you're looking for a lower volume option. Some people just need something that's going to be a little bit lower volume. I happen to make mine huge because I want it really high in volume. And I also add pumpkin pie spice to it. I have a buttery cinnamon roll spice that I added. So some delicious ones. A couple other hot shakes that I make this time of year, all times of year. Of course, you folks have heard about our hot coffee shakes with vanilla or chocolate. Hot chocolate. I sometimes will add my chocolate donut spice to it. But of course, we have other things that we can add. And hot chocolate is great on my list. Back to my pumpkin latte for a moment. You could add coffee, you don't have to. But you know, my shake is roughly 150 calories. And Starbucks that likes to message me to tell me about their latest offerings. I know that their venti pumpkin spice latte is 480 calories. So just for their drink, we're looking at 3+ times the calories compared to my shake that's massive and loaded with nutrition. So just wanted to share that comparison.
Yes, yes. And again, similar to when we were talking about the autumn apple crisp, when you go to Starbucks to get a drink, that may not be the only thing that you're eating. Or that's not all your calories that you get for the day either. And so just imagine that in addition to other things that you're going to be eating. And so one of my very favorites, and I know Bob, you've already talked about this, and I know that we've had a lot of folks really talking about this shake, and this is the hot apple cider shake. And so I want to share with you guys kind of the ingredients, of course. And for whatever reason, this year I had a little bit more trouble finding the sugar-free apple cider. Typically, there's a brand called Alpine, and normally they always have their sugar-free and their regular. So at your grocery store, you may want to look for that type, that brand, which is called Alpine, and it's in kind of a goldish brownish box. And the aisle that you want to look at is the coffee aisle, and normally the hot apple cider is by the hot chocolates. I went to a couple of grocery stores, couldn't find the sugar-free, but I ended up finding here in Kentucky, in Louisville, we have Kroger's. And so I found the Kroger sugar-free apple cider. And just like hot chocolate, they come in little packets. And so you just take 1 packet of the sugar-free, and I think it calls for 6 ounces. I do anywhere from 6 to 8 ounces of hot water. You stir in your apple cider mix, and then you can put in any of your shakes. So I personally use 800. You can use 120. You can use 500 shakes. The 70 plus, what I would recommend that you do, because it does have a different protein than our other shakes. So make sure you do mix the shake up at room temperature, and then you can microwave it at different intervals. If you heat it up or have hot water with the 70, then it tends to like scramble almost because of the egg protein that's in it. So, and that's basically all you do. You just mix it up. I like to use an immersion blender. And so it's just the stick blender that emerges into the shake, and it makes a really creamy shake. And one addition that I have started putting in it is apple pie spice. I know somebody was asking yesterday about a recipe. And then also, I've had these cinnamon sticks for quite some time for a recipe. And so I just put a cinnamon stick into my mug of hot apple cider.
About my spices, I had ordered them on Flavor God's site. My buttery cinnamon roll, my chocolate donut, my pumpkin pie, everything. but there's so many spices also we can get in the supermarket.
Yes, yeah, yeah. And yeah, Flavor God, I've looked at their website and they look like they have so many great options. And with the apple cider, you guys can also make it as a cold shake. So just like you would a normal shake with water and ice and your vanilla, and then you can still put a whole packet of the apple cider in there. It's great in the summertime. You can even put some in your cereal. It's really delicious that way, especially if you're missing kind of an apple flavor. It's really, really good, as well as the apple pie spice.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So we have discussed seasonal favorites this evening, soups, hot shakes, and on to our last category, and that is the cold weather comfort foods.
Mm-hmm.
And I know those of us who have gotten into some colder climate temperatures, we might feel inclined to be reaching for certain foods. So one of the recipes that I made this evening is HMR baked mac and cheese. And I know that some clients are looking for some different ways to make the mac and cheese. I absolutely love it baked. And this recipe is so easy to make. We're literally talking an HMR chicken soup packet, couple ounces of water, the HMR mac and cheese, whatever spices you want, and then you bake it for 20 minutes at 350. And I actually pre-made mine, but just to be able to show you, I'll grab it from the oven. And you can make it in a casserole. And I have really found that by baking the mac and cheese, it really changes the texture. It bubbles on the top and is really delicious. And certainly many of our clients have shared different comfort foods. I've seen recipes that include all sorts of cereal shake combinations, from cookies to muffins. Certainly there's many different double entree combos that we could do on a day that we're a little bit hungrier. Turkey chili with chicken pasta parm or chili mac, all sorts of recipes. What stands out to you, Jen, when it comes to cold weather comfort foods?
So when I'm thinking like the shepherd's pie or like a pot pie, and we have a really great recipe in the recipe book for shepherd's pie. And I know that's Sandy, another one of Coach Sandy's favorites. And warm sweet things really come to mind when I'm thinking of comfort foods. And so making the 70 plus and having warm fruits. I know Shane mentioned his basically sauteed apples, peaches, pears. Those would all be really delicious with a 70 plus over top, and then having your fruit being warm. So those are mainly the things that I think of with comfort food, but mac and cheese is absolutely one of those. So the baked mac and cheese can be a game changer if you've not tried it.
One of my clients mentioned blending the mac and cheese and converting it into a warm cheese sauce, and then draping it over broccoli to make like a broccoli recipe.
Yeah, that sounds really good too. And I think I saw on our page somebody made it into like a creamy cheese soup too, but I may be with cauliflower. I may be making that up, but that could be another one that could make a good bisque as well.
So probably not a surprise to you. As we asked earlier, we wanted you to be thinking about something that you could try this week, pushing yourself to try something a little bit new and different. If you feel like you've had a hard time staying on track, or you just want something different to try to look forward to, would you be up for doing one of these seasonal favorites? Would you be up for trying a soup? Do you want to try a hot shake? Or do you want to try one of these cold weather comfort foods? So we would love for you to post to our page on our site something that you're willing to try this week in the spirit of fall recipes and fall favorites. Who's willing to try something this week? Please share.
Yeah, make sure to share. And I know several of you have said that many of the recipes are sounding delicious to you. So if you try more than one, that's great. But we're just asking for you to try one thing. And of course, if you want some additional love and accountability, you can comment below and we will make sure to follow up with you next week. And so I hope you guys have enjoyed this event as much as we loved putting it together. Kate and I love eating and we love our seasonal favorites, the flavors. And so just a reminder, the goal of our event tonight was to help each of you to really be able to enjoy the flavors that come around one time a year and still stay on track. To whether you're in the box or just trying to manage your calories, you can still enjoy the flavors and save yourself a ton of calories like we saw with some of our examples. And so next week, you'll want to make sure to tune in because Coach Sandy and also Sharon D are going to be doing an episode on limitations with physical activity. And so as we're getting into kind of a new season, there may be limitations with the weather outside. There may be limitations with different things that you have that maybe you can't, physical limitations, or even just you haven't built up your endurance yet. And so we're going to be discussing that next week, which is always a fun one. And so make sure to tune in and keep commenting if you're watching this video after with some of your favorite recipes. But you guys have a wonderful night, and thanks for joining us.
People posting things they want to do, from squash soup,
oh, great.
autumn apple crisp, many people wanting to try the cauliflower soup, caramel apple shake, hot shake. So please continue to post what you plan to do. We'll look forward to seeing you all next week.
Yeah.
Have a good week, everyone.
Bye. Bye.